afternoon, everybody. Welcome in to the Maize and Blue Reviews. Good afternoon, Michigan football special coaching edition. As we head into the holiday weekend, last weekend before Christmas, and front and center is the Michigan coaching search. Actually, you can make the case for tonight that is the fulcrum of everything with this coaching search. I would agree with that, as we have Alabama, coached by Kalen DeBoer, in action in the first round of the college football playoff. They were in Norman, Oklahoma, and they will take on the Sooners. Oh, it's dripping with intrigue. Very close betting line, 1.5, where you get the Sooners, the slight favorite. They are at home, and we're ready to talk about it with you. And I believe everybody understands the ramifications of what's going on, but if not, we'll lay him back out there. So don't worry if you're in there and say, I'm lost. You don't have to be. We'll get you up to speed. Dillingham still in play, and we will look at the chances that it would be Dillingham if Alabama wins tonight. There's also, in the others category, a coach that was mentioned today that I put on an amended list from Wednesday. So that's where we're at. We go into tonight's game. Now, sometimes when you fans, all of us fans, we take one game and we, blow it out of proportion and it means everything. And the big picture, maybe it really doesn't, but if Alabama wins tonight, Kalen DeBoer is off the board. I don't see a scenario where Alabama wins and then they lose their next game, or Michigan's going to wait for them then, and then Alabama is still going to he's going to want to leave Alabama. I very much doubt that. In fact, I more than doubt it. I don't think that is in the realm of possibility. So one game against OU tonight, and if Bama loses, it's not a sure thing that Kalen DeBoer is going to then take the Michigan money, but then there's a chance where there's no chance if Alabama wins. There is a chance if Alabama loses. Now, so go Sooners. I think if you're a Michigan fan and you want Kalen DeBoer. If you do not want Kalen DeBoer, then you're like, roll Tide, because then he's going to be off the board. So I can't tell you who to root for. If you were asking me, I think both of the two front runners, the ones that are on the board here, Dillingham and DeBoer, I think both of those guys would be fine coaches. It always comes down to, you want to play one against the other. Oh, ultimately, you pick someone, and so I'll do that too. I would go with Kalen DeBoer because he's got more experience. He reminds me of a little bit of Dusty May in that he was at Eastern Michigan like Dusty was. Just a little thing, but he understands the area, that part, but the experience, that's a little bit over Dillingham. And, I like Dillingham, and I think he would be a fine coach as well. But it's not like, I was talking with somebody earlier, said Michigan will be in a better position with whoever they hire with this new coach. And so they're going to be fine. And while I think that's probably accurate, that they'll be fine. Whoever they hire, people will get behind and they'll like, but you would still look at him and say, okay, this is the guy that, that you identify that you want or whatever else. And that's where I am. So I say, go Sooners. There is one thing though, and I don't know if fans think about this. And in fact, I don't think they will. I think they'll be making excuses and they'll play the one game doesn't matter. And yet one game is going to matter and the whole thing. So I'm going to play the one game does matter. It reminds me of the Super Bowl where the Patriots were playing the Eagles and the Lions were set to hire Matt Patricia as the defensive coordinator for the Patriots. The Eagles tuned him up for like 550 yards, 500 and some odd yards in the Super Bowl, and everybody's like, "Oh, that doesn't matter." And it didn't mean everything. It was sour for me. I had and it was a little bit bigger than everybody that just completely dismissed it. Now he was going from being a defensive coordinator to a head coach. It was it's a different can of worms, but still, I still didn't like that. That and I think I didn't like that people just were, yep, nothing. And so I say that to, let's say Oklahoma blasts Alabama 30-3, or they do something like Georgia did to Alabama, and they just, they take their belt out and they're, smack them. And Alabama gets, so Alabama fans at that point are going to be like, get out. I don't know where the sweet spot is, because if they lose a game, let's say like last night's Seattle and LA Rams game, great game, back and forth. The Rams could have made that field goal, the controversial 2-point conversion that looked like didn't look really like a lateral to me. And they didn't deserve to get that 2 points. They did, but they lost. Is Alabama going to be, are those Southern folks going to be so just looking at the L and be like, oh, he's out? Or did they have to get, beat up pretty good so that they want him out? That's the part that I don't know. So are we just talking about the L? If we are just talking about the L, and maybe we are, then I would like to see a close game and then just Alabama lose it. And then Sunday at the Michigan basketball game, that Kalen DeBoer is introduced to the crowd, comes on and grabs the microphone, as we're familiar with seeing even at Michigan. I remember it was Michigan-Illinois basketball game back in the day when they brought Jim Harbaugh out and introduced him. We are accustomed to seeing that. So my thoughts tonight: lose, but don't get completely embarrassed. Because it matters a little bit to me, just a little bit. And I don't think it matters at all to the fans who, are kind of, and I understand it, you just want your guy, you want, and deliver it, and you'll forget everything else. Let's just go. It's fine. You can, wish for whatever you want, and you can ignore, or you can, get hung up on things, whatever you want. Those are the rules when you're a fan. You can do whatever you want, however you want to let it play out. So, yeah, I'm hoping for Oklahoma, and then I hope that tomorrow that DeBoer decides he's going to leave, and then they introduce him on Sunday. If that's not the case, which is a possibility, for sure, Oklahoma or Alabama could win. Oklahoma could win, and there is a chance that DeBoer actually will stay in Tuscaloosa. You can believe whatever you want there. I'm just saying that there is a chance, whatever the percentages are in your own mind, or whoever you trust, and everything else when it comes down to that, if he would lose and stay there. So there is that chance. But the quick pivot to Dillingham, and that shouldn't take very long either, because it's 1 and 1A, or 1 and then number 2, I think, in with Dillingham. But if DeBoer, whatever happens at the end of that game, maybe he'll want to sleep on it. But tomorrow morning, when he gives his answer, the quick pivot then to Dillingham. And then the ball will be in his court. And then the same thing that I was saying about DeBoer, that Sunday, instead of having Kalen DeBoer out on the hardwood at the Chrysler Center, it'll be Dillingham. That quick. That's what I hope happens for this coaching search. Those are the top 2 candidates. You don't always get your top candidate. I've watched enough of these. So have you. It doesn't mean that if you don't get your number 1 or number 2 guy that, that everything is on fire and is terrible. It is in real time discouraging. I will give you that. if whatever happens with DeBoer and Dillingham, we should have clarity on those two, I would think, by Sunday night. I don't know. I don't. What's Dillingham going to do after they go to him on Saturday if they get a negative response from DeBoer? Is he going to say, I need to think about it for another day or two? I suppose anything's possible with that. But I'm telling you that I think that we'll have clarity on the top two candidates, DeBoer, Dillingham, by Sunday, certainly by Sunday evening. So that's where I sit. I'm going to take some feedback. We'll go to some other candidates and anything else that you want to get to, like maybe the bowl game. Would you go to a Michigan if Michigan was in the playoffs and they were hosting, I don't know, Texas tonight in Ann Arbor? What's this game? It's an 8:00 game at Oklahoma, 8:00 game in Ann Arbor. It's the feel like temperature's 5 degrees. The wind is supposed to die down a little bit, but 10 degrees with the wind chill, that's something. Would you be there automatically with Michigan? The stadium would be packed. I mean, that's not a fun. I don't like, but I mean, it's a playoffs. So, hey, 10 degrees, let's go. There it is. SW Lion said he saw a Kalen DeBoer interview. Dilly's his first choice, but he likes Kalen DeBoer. I'm not sure about his style of football. How would it work in the Big Ten, though, if he ends up being the guy? Well, I would refer you to Wednesday's show when we went all over Kalen DeBoer's pass-happy offense and how it would work. I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. It would work. He's a good offensive coordinator, and he's going to play to his talent. But he is. When I say pass happy, I think he is pass happy. Hopefully, win happy. And it's going to be. It's one of those things. If you're a Michigan fan, the next coach, you have to be able to have a level of physicality and be able to run the ball. You can still be someone who emphasizes the pass and how to win football games. I know over the last 5 years, we all have made fun of Ohio State. They're soft and they throw the ball. You don't win that way. That was, I would say, out of everything that happened in 2021, Michigan, switching from a 3-4, bringing in different coaches, Harbaugh feeling like it was his, last chance or whatever else, getting his salary cut, all those different Stallions being in, whatever you wanted to say. I think going to a run first, pound and ground and pound smash was the biggest thing. So, but the game has changed even since then. A lot of other people that have adopted that. And have integrated that part back into it. So you're going to have a little bit of that. But, it's about winning. The next coach is not Jim Harbaugh, and the next head coach does not have a mandate where he comes in where you get into Ann Arbor and you say, we have to run the ball 60% of the time because we're a physical, this is Michigan. That's not true. That was a narrative, and it was true for Harbaugh in 2021, but it's not anymore. Old Hadley is asking, why do I think Michigan is not considering Jedd Fisch? Well, I'll also refer you to the other shows where the profile, and it's completely understandable that Michigan, and with Ward Manuel calling the shots, is going away from any Jim Harbaugh tree. And Jedd Fisch was here for 2 years. So, and then there might be something that was, it could have been leaked out through an investigation or a background check, I guess is the what that would have been. And so they just put that out there. But I think that anyone with a tie to Harbaugh is not going to get hired for this job. Look who's doing the hiring. Why would Ward Manuel? Now you say he wants to hire the best guy for the job. Sure enough, true enough. He was also under the he is also under the mandate to to bring in the cleanest cut and everything else, and automatically you don't really have that. Here's somebody that just sent me a picture. Let's see if we can see it. Oh, it's not really. Oh wait, can we see who that is? It's Coach Prime. I'm not putting Coach Prime on the list, although somebody did tell me that they thought he would be good. That's why Fish is out. His connection with Harbaugh. Here's Leet, who says Dilly, Kalen, and Whittingham. Whittingham is interesting. His name has been out there. On Wednesday, I put a list of others, and I did not have Whittingham on there. I had Brom, Lee, Drinkwitz, Fleck out of if things don't work this weekend with the 2 KDs. But I have amended that list for today, and I still have Fleck, Drinkwitz, Lee, Brom, and I have added Whittingham for consideration. I was talking with somebody earlier this week about Whittingham, and people like Whittingham as a coach. Whittingham doesn't fit to me. I know he brought his team one time to Ann Arbor, kicked crap out of Michigan in that game. He's a good coach, but and does it matter that he's a Mormon, that he's been in BYU, Utah? I mean, he's a West Coast or a Mormon territory type guy. That's what he's done his whole life. So I think without getting, are you saying because he's a Mormon, he can't coach at Michigan? No, what I'm saying is that he has been in that culture his entire life, and he's damn near 70 years old. So he said when he was retiring that he wanted to spend time with his 15 or 16 grandchildren. So I don't think he's a fit myself, but I know a lot of people have him as the leading candidate of others. I do not, because of the fit. Now, again, because what I think is a fit might not think what you think is a fit. You might just be thinking, I just want the best coach. I don't care about if he's a Mormon. I don't care if he's from Arizona his entire life. I'll teach him about the Ohio State rivalry. I'll show him around Michigan. It's fair. It's fine, and it's fair. LJ is saying he's hoping we know this by Monday. Would be a great Christmas present for Michigan, a new coach. Well, we're going to get some clarity by Monday on DeBoer and Dillingham. Those guys are up for the job tonight. What happens with Alabama is very important with DeBoer, and then DeBoer has a decision to make. I can see him sleeping on it, but he'll have to make a decision tomorrow morning. If he decides to stay in Alabama, then the ball is in Dillingham's court, and he has to make a decision. Maybe he will want to spend the day, and maybe he will want to sleep on it, but then Sunday morning, he needs to wake up, and he needs to make the call in the affirmative or negative, and then we will know. A respectable loss. See, no, we got someone who's thinking the way. I want a respectable loss. Tremor likes Whittingham. I've already been through my thoughts on Whittingham. I think John likes the. I don't know. I mean, John likes Michigan, and he likes. I think he likes. I can tell he likes the coaching search, and he's excited about this weekend. If we get DeBoer, the fire Ward crowd will have much less of a point to make. No, I don't think so. I think that the fire Ward crowd, everything that has happened since Manuel has been around that has been negative, falls at the feet of the athletic director. Somebody told me earlier, even about Sharon and other things that have gone on, and he said it's very clear when it comes down to Ward Manuel. It is like this. If Ward Manuel didn't know all the things that were going on with Sharon and all the other things that people say that he should have known, then he should be fired. If he did know, he should be fired. So the point is, he should be fired. Now, this person was an anti-Ward guy, but they're also the thing when you see a lot of people saying we would like sweep everything out, a reset, and Manuel is tainted by what has gone on over the last 4 or 5 years and all of the negative stories. It's tough because as fans, we have mostly treated each one of these and we have brushed them off. And a lot of fans, we could sit around, and I'm not doing this, but we could take 100 Michigan fans, and the majority of them would sit around and just say, nothing went on. Nothing's gone wrong with Michigan. The NCAA came after Jim Harbaugh for buying a hamburger, and Connor Stallions did nothing wrong. And it was Ward who fumbled with the NCAA and put Michigan in hot water. There's a lot of people that believe that. So they've just shifted everything on Ward. But it's I think when the coaching search, if it kind of if it goes through this weekend and they don't have a coach, then I would say as a Michigan fan, you should be understandably a little bit concerned about what kind of coach that they're going to land. And that is because of all of the bad press with Ward, and you can make a case that he's a dead man walking. And you do need, if I'm a coach and I'm coming in, and even if you're offering me 6-7 years at $15 million, so over $100 million, I still like to have university alignment. Who's my AD? Who's my president? He's an interim. What about all this mess and backstabbing regents? It's chaos. Now, $100 million, and you can say, I'll let somebody else deal with that. I can handle it. It's Michigan. It's one of these jobs, and but there is that chaos that is there that could affect things. I don't know if it's going to affect the two guys this weekend, but if you get to Monday, that chaos, I believe, rears its head more. The Manuel, dead man walking, interim president, and then shady regents in the news. You might not like that. I'm just giving you my thoughts and my approach on that. Dillingham equals a young Bo with more innovation. Well, bring that on. Regardless, we'll have a better coach and, less of what has gone on. I don't know. Okay. Linda says he wouldn't mind Whittingham. His teams always seemed ready to play. Well, I've given my thoughts on Whittingham. So that's it. We'll no longer have a MAC level coaching at an elite brand university. Well, for me, John, looking back and dogging the coach, after the fact, even if you were doing it while, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what good, that does, but that's all right. I mean, who from the current staff are must keeps? Well, I think that Tony Alford is. I don't think there's anybody that's a must keep. Not really. None of the above. I think, but I like Alford. Chase. Will we know by Monday? Okay, I'm behind because I've said that a few times now, how I think it's going to play out. Tremor wants to know, what if they bring in their quarterback? Well, that's right. I mean, there's uncertainty with everything. We don't know who the next head coach is. We don't know how much of his staff he's going to bring in. We don't know how many of his players he's going to bring in, including a quarterback. Bryce Underwood, as much as he's here and we know that, and I would like to see Bryce Underwood next year. We don't know what the new head coach is thinking about Bryce Underwood, what his relationship is, what he thinks about Underwood in the future, what he thinks about the quarterback position next year. So all of that is up in the air. I think anybody trying to pin that down and saying, "Oh, this is the board definitely would keep Underwood." Okay, Dillingham would definitely keep. I would say that Dillingham would be the one that would be most likely to not go to Underwood. I say that because he had his guy in Levitt, who left Arizona State for greener pastures. Well, I mean, if that continuity and the green pastures are there, I could see them reuniting, and then Underwood could be out. Underwood might want to be out anyway. So we don't know. I'm not trying to cushion the blow of that anyway. I'm just taking it on right here, just like with any of the assistants. I like a lot of the Michigan assistants, but these guys could, you usually keep a guy or two, but I don't see, you can say, and Alford has done a nice job. And I see most people say him and you look and you say, oh, Hyder. Well, Hyder's a 5-star and he recruited him and his relationship. And so, yes, I would like to keep Hyder, and Alford's done a good job. So that's why I could say, yeah, keep him. But, you don't know what the next head coach is thinking about that. So, I'm not bracing for there to be a mass exodus, but I am thinking that there is going to be a swap of about 10 players that are currently on this Michigan team that'll be hitting the door. And then there'll be 10 probably that'll come in with the next head coach. Sure, I'd like to keep all of the good players, and the players you don't care about, you'd hope that they would go, and then you'd hope the 10 players that are coming in are all good players. Like that's how we look at it. It's probably not going to play out that way. So we don't know. Yeah, I don't know how important Biff is moving forward. I mean, it's nice to have him coaching the bowl game. Does the next Michigan coach need him to be some kind of consigliere like Biff was to Harbaugh? Not really, but that's it. There's John is talking about one of the helpers with the quarterback needs to go. Yeah, you might be right. Considering that things didn't go great with the development with Underwood, it's hard to say that it went bad, although you could say that, but factoring in everything, it was underwhelming. So the job that all of these guys did with Underwood was, you can't say that they did a good job. Could you say they did a bad job? It's still just an okay job. But if you said, was it a good job or bad job, I would lean towards bad job. I don't think it's, that, that's what we like to do. An okay job, and we'll see. But anybody wanting to either move on, bring in different coaches, try different things with that whole situation, if Underwood stays, or obviously if he goes, I think all of that is in play and understandable. Michigan Go Blues wanting to play imagine this game. Imagine if we had the UConn wide receiver. I don't know. Are they going to throw to him? Was he going to demand the ball? Was he coming in and Michigan was Underwood going to be able to get him the ball? Would he have been Marsh right out of the gate? Those are hard things to determine when it comes down to it. I don't know about that. when we're speaking about who would come in or anything else. Matthew thinks Biff is important to the roster and keeping it together for a new coach. Maybe. If we weren't going for DeBoer, we would have heard about Ward jetting out to Arizona. I mean, not necessarily. You can get everything done on a call. Maybe we will be tracking planes this weekend. Robert's talking about the money. He'd rather have Dilly for 10 than DeBoer for 14. Yeah, I don't know if those are the numbers. The highest paid coach is Kirby Smart at 13, with Day right behind him at 12 and a half. So I've seen, numbers floated out over 100 million, which that's got to at least be a 7-year deal. And then, you do the math, that's like 15 million. So it might be more than what you're saying. And for Dilly, if things fall through to the board and, he's thinking 10, he might be thinking 12. Now, once we're talking about 15, 13, 14, 15, I want the better. If Dillingham's a better coach in, their eyes, even though it looks like he's number 2 on that list. The money part, I'm not in there for that. The former DVR is saying that 15 is going to be the minimum. Michigan Go Blue 1234 wants to give DeBoer $12 million. Sure, you can want to give him that, but if I'm his agent, it's let's try that one. Let's try that one again. I'll guarantee that DeBoer gets at least 14 and probably 15 million from Michigan. And that gets back to, but what about all this unevenness with the AD, the alignment, and the uncertainty? That's where you get out that extra year, you get out those guarantees, and you start talking 15. So there you go. CJ's talking about who's going to be the DC. Yeah, well, I mean, we'll all pivot pretty quick. As soon as the next head coach, as soon as we have the smoke come out of the AD's building and he declares, Vamos, Papa. As soon as we have that, then it will be, okay, what does the staff look like? What's going on with Underwood? Those are the two things next after the head coach. After we have a new coach. I do get the Whittingham was it this last Pope? Was it even the one before? I'm not great with my Pope history. I mean, I have John Paul, I know, but when they went with, I believe Benedict, was that his name? He was like 75. And, I watched the breakdown and they were like, well, they're going with a 75-year-old Pope because they know that he's not going to be around for 20, 30 years. And so that could be the thing with Whittingham. If this all falls apart, he's almost 70. He's not going to be around for 20 years. Is he even going to be around for 10? Probably not. 5, 2 or 3. Butter Knife Bandit. All right. Where you been, Butter Knife Bandit? That's he wants Harbaugh back. Yeah, that's not happening. Although every time I watch the Seahawks, Mike McDonald did a nice job coaching last night, and Jay Harbaugh, the special teams. I think I've just watched Seattle the last 2 weeks. Jay Harbaugh on special teams. He's such a good special teams coordinator. But he was good at Michigan special teams. He's good at Seattle. Jay Harbaugh will be a coach. Rip wants lower ticket prices. Yeah, me too. But Michigan Go Blue 1234 says just hire whoever Underwood wants, so he stays. Yeah. It'd be interesting to know if Ward Manuel, Scar said maybe you put out a call to the whoever you think like the top 8 returning Michigan players out. So you get the captains, they won't be returning, but you ask them to identify them. So Bryce is going to be in that mix. Are you really asking them? And who knows what, but Bryce has to have at least 10 teams a day contacting his agent. Well, he's got to talk to his agent once in a while. What do you think his agent's telling him? Well, we've got pick a team. We got LSU on the line who's ready to give you $3 million a year next year. What do you think? They're ready to go. If there's going to be teams that are close to, maybe, I don't know. What do you think? 5-10 million? The quarterback, that's crazy. The numbers, and we don't know. But it'll be out there. Jay says he hasn't proven himself to be able to call shots like that. I'm going to say yes and no. He certainly didn't have a good year, but you also do factor in his the talent in that learning experience. I think, for me, I mean, I'm not down on Bryce Underwood, but I do expect him to be twice as good as he was, or I don't know if that's asking too much, a hell of a lot better than he was last year. And, he showed some flashes. I mean, against the lesser talent, he looked like a superstar. And so you're thinking with a year in learning and getting the speed of the game, it's I wouldn't totally be out on Bryce Underwood, still becoming this, great quarterback. That's it. Here is Smash. Now, Smash is a Biff guy. He wouldn't mind seeing Biff be the coach. And so, that's not me. But that was Smash. I saw him on social media declaring that he would give a 3-year deal to Poggi. Hey, so everybody's got their making their call. Like, so TK thinks it's going to be Dillingham. Yeah, if I had to put the odds out right now, let's do that. So DeBoer's calling the shots, but I mean, he's the one. But if he wins the game, he's out. So he can't be 50. Is he 50-50? 40% Kalen DeBoer. And then if he doesn't take it, then immediately it is Dillingham and his odds. So as we sit here right now, Dillingham's are less than DeBoer because DeBoer's got the shot, but he has to lose this game tonight. But then if he wins, then it becomes over 50% for Dillingham because these are the top 2 candidates. There's a tier. If we're doing tiers, it's DeBoer and Dillingham. And if DeBoer's out, the Dillingham percentages go up. I would put it at 75%, even though that it's probably at 35% right now. The Dillingham odds, if Alabama wins tonight, skyrocket to 75%. The Dillingham odds skyrocket to 75% if DeBoer turns the job down tomorrow morning. And then the further you get, you would think Dillingham easily could say, let me sleep on it. And then Sunday morning, it would sit there 75%. But the longer it goes throughout the day, if it gets past noon, well, you start dropping it. And then you put all these other, we want to call them a cast of characters or just call them the Santa's list. From the Utah man, Whittingham, to the Louisville man, Brohm, Vandy's own Lee, Drinkwitz, Fleck. Those names don't really. Those names, the tier 2, tier 1, tier 1's right here. DeBoer and Dillingham. I think either one, you're a Michigan fan, I think you're ready to throw a party. Let's party. The odds for the bowl game have gone from, it's opened up at Texas -4.5. Texas is now -7.5. Even though they're losing a lot of players or opting out of this game, Michigan's uncertainty at the top has really adjusted that line. This was part of tier 2, and now also the Whittingham up to date is in the tier 2. The tier 2 top 5. Whittingham, Brohm, Lee, Drinkwitz, Fleck. Not exciting. Tier 2. I don't really want any of those coaches if it's not Dillingham or DeBoer. But you're asking me if you're force me. Okay, you're forcing me. I don't like the fit with Whittingham, although I think he's a good coach. I like Brohm. Boy, I'd love to be able to interview these guys. Who's going to really knock it out of the park in the interview? It's tough. Because I don't really like any of them to be the next Michigan coach, but I'll put Brohm there. You asked. I gave you the answer. TB says Biff, I like, but no other big program has him as a head coach. Yeah, Biff's not going to be the next head coach. I would take any of these guys, and I don't even relate. It's just gonna. It takes me a while. I think it's gonna take me a while to get there. Just like the bowl game. I was talking with somebody earlier. He's like, "Hey, what do you think of the bowl match?" I'm like, I don't know. I guess at some point I'm gonna have to, start getting excited about the the Cheez-It Bowl. But I'm just not there yet. Just like I'm just not there with these guys. I can get there. TK's talking about Fleck not being mentioned. Fleck for row the boat. Yeah. Mike Hart has, I think, 0% chance of being the next Michigan head coach. Mike Hart has never been a head coach, and if you look at and think about, it's a nice thing to throw up there because Mike Hart was a Michigan running back legend, and he was here for a little bit with Harbaugh, and everybody liked Mike Hart, but Mike Hart is a mini Sharon in terms of him being a coach that you would bring in who has no experience as being a head coach. So I'm going to say no. I don't think it's very wild. If there's anybody, and so you never want to completely say, oh, all of those assistants, you don't want any of them because they don't have head coaching experience. You want the best guys. So don't, but you also have to have, you have your profile. And I believe the profile is going to be a coach with previous head coaching experience and also one that doesn't have any ties with Harbaugh. You might not like my profile, but it's very reasonable to think that that's what Ward Manuel's profile is going to be. That's what he's looking for. That's not might not be what you want. That's not what you might not like Ward anyways. You think, oh, it's perfect. Ward's doesn't know what he's doing. Okay. The punters coming in with a hypothetical. Let's think this one over. All right, let's read it. Say D&D, turn it down, and Poggi dominates Texas. Does it make Michigan consider Poggi seriously? I am going to say no. I don't think Poggi has any chance. Smash is talking about Biff is a way to keep the players. Then make a move in a month or 10 months and eat the rest of the 3-year deal you give him. So Smash wants to give Biff a 3-year deal to keep the players. I get trying to keep the players, but I can't see Biff. Biff is not a head coach. Biff, it was a backup. He's not even a position coach. Oh, Biff's a nice guy to have on the team. If you run into problems with the NCAA and your coach gets fired and or your coach gets suspended, and you have to throw somebody up out there to put on a good face. That's Biff. Then if your coach does get fired, he's a good coach to hold things together for a bowl game. But that's it. There's nothing more. At least that's what I don't see. There's zero chance to me that I would, if Ward was saying, hey, what do you think about Ferris's plan of giving Biff a 3-year deal? That's because he wants to keep the team together. I'd say no. No, thanks. It's time to, try another head coach and get this thing going. As much as you like, the recruiting and you like the recruiting class, everything that was going, Moore dropped this blank sandwich, right? In everybody's lap, and it's not going to be fun. And I just say, Ferris, go back. There's no saying that he is going to be able to keep. Say, oh, he's going to keep the players. There might be players that are ready to hit it anyways, if he's going to be the guy. And the one thing about bringing somebody else in is he's going to have a group of his players that will want to follow him in here, because there is going to be, I would think, immediately double-digit guys that are leaving. I know people don't like to hear that. I don't know. That's just my opinion on that. You think there's going to be high retention if there's another head coach here because, Biff was able to keep everything together? Maybe the money will talk. I mean, the things that you would say before, you would say, Michigan's culture will keep it together. What's the Michigan culture right now? I mean, that's the whole thing about getting a new coach. Whatever you thought about the culture and everybody leaning on the culture and everything else, the culture is in a tenuous spot right now. The job is posted. Go apply. Well, considering that, you're being funny, but I don't fit the profile. I don't have any coaching experience. I'd even say one better than that. I saw Dhani Jones, former Michigan linebacker. He was on the 97 championship team. I really liked Dhani Jones, but I don't know if it was on Twitter or somewhere. He said, why not Charles Woodson as the next head coach? And he was being serious. He said, come on. And he was putting up let's go. Who's greater than Charles Woodson? And again, I think he was being serious. And, I wanted to go on there, but I'm not going on and telling Dhani Jones, like, Dhani, you have absolutely no idea. And he's a real smart guy. So maybe he was just trying to be funny. Maybe he was just looking for some engagement, but As great, Charles Woodson might be the greatest football player ever. Ever. College, pro, anybody. The greatest ever. Nobody should want him to be the next Michigan football coach. He's a broadcaster. He's, a businessman selling wine and whiskey. Great. Well, everybody loves Charles Woodson, but he's not, nowhere in there is he a football coach. And nobody should be putting him up for it. It's like you see some of that stuff with Tom Brady. Tom Brady is not a football coach. Chase wanting to know why the football players followed Kenny. They may know something we don't. These guys all understand the game of what's going on. So they also know that, their kind of power. They know anybody that they follow, the people are going to be like, ooh, so there you go. Jetty wants to add Jason Eck. Yeah, Jason Eck from New Mexico. Just a little bit. I don't think Eck. Nice coach, but no. Dungeons and Dragoons? I'm not familiar with that. Wink is a better DC than Kane Womack. Agree. Yeah, Poggi, I'm not going over the Poggi stuff. If people want Poggi, that's fine. It's kind of like talking about Whittingham. I'll go over it, and that's it. Yeah, Dhani Jones is pretty cool. Pretty cool guy automatically. He can talk. I'm surprised he didn't. Not that he's surprised he didn't have that he had a TV show. Very charismatic. He can talk longer than anybody I've ever encountered. But he's just, doing an engagement farm with putting, Woodson out there. Dom is talking about the Michigan culture being a myth, a lie even. Let's hope those people are proven wrong over the next couple months. Well, I think whatever the Michigan culture is, it's going to be different on Monday. Who's shaping your culture of your football team? It's your head coach. He's the one. Now, Michigan's got a lot of things to lean on that you put as part of your presentation to, form your culture and your rules and your direction and all that. And that's why the culture right now has taken a shot, because Sharon Moore was sitting on a throne of lies when he talked about, having this, these relationships. I'm talking about with the players and with their parents, and all of the good things that he talked about. It all came from a big hollow place because of what he was doing, and the players that knew about it anyways. The fractures in there. Yeah, how could the culture? I got Sharon talking about, you love Michigan because of, the family and the people and, the school. And then, you're one of the players and, you see him hopping in the back seat with Paige. What's up with that? Rip is asking, what's your favorite spot on campus to smoke pot? Well, I didn't go to Michigan, so we'll have to put that out there for everyone else. But I do remember Rip back in the 20th century. I went to a couple hash bashes and they would say people that know the rules and everything. It was one of these things where you say, okay, don't just be walking around, down Main Street, firing big joints up or something. They'll arrest you. But there were certain spots that they would say it was $5. I mean, this is talking about the early '90s. I didn't really know though those designated spots are, but that was kind of the talk. Hey, if you're gonna, go to hash bash, find the spots where it's only a $10 ticket, and then the cops are kind of looking the other way. So those would have been my favorite spots. But at least I think I went to two. So you get a little, your memory lacks a little bit, but definitely one. But right there at the Diag, I would say, because that's where the party was, or the speakers were, anyways. I'll never forget one of the keynote speakers. He wasn't a great speaker. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't great. But he was kind of unkept. He didn't have a great presentation or aura about him. And he got up there and he said something like he wanted to have this science-based explanation for pot and how it wasn't harmful at all. And yet it kind of looked, he was up there, he's like, I've been smoking pot every day for 20 years of my life and there's nothing wrong with me. And everybody's looking at it. I'm thinking, it kind of looks like there's something wrong with you. So, but that's what I have to say about the reefer-friendly areas. I don't know what it's like now that it's legal. And I was just driving into Ann Arbor today, and I noticed on the freeway, I've not noticed it a few times since up there. It's one of the, these pot shops or whatever, but billboards. And I look over there and it says, free ounce to the first 300 customers. So I've seen it before. I'm just driving in. I'm thinking, that's a lot. There's giving a free ounce. I mean, so I was thinking, so what do? You just every day. How long do they really keep this up? And so today I looked just to see. There must be some kind of fine print. While supplies last, maybe that, and I couldn't see it because then they could say, "Oh, no, we ran out." But so you just get up at 9 a.m. and go there and be like, "Hey, new customer, free ounce." It sounds like a lot to give away. It sounds like such a claim to have on a billboard. Free ounce for the first 300 customers. What? Wow. I've told you my experiences with the cannabis shops in Ann Arbor. I was driving my daughter to ballet, and there was this one building I kept seeing, and it said, I thought it was a hamburger place, and so I was kind of excited. I was like, it said Crave. And I saw it and I was like, that looks like a pretty sweet place. But I was looked, and the next time I was like, I don't see any hamburger. It's just a big purple building with, it says Crave. This was a couple years ago. I'm more familiar now. You see a bright building with just a cryptic name, Cookies or something. Oh, okay. That's a pop shop. But it was not a burger place. And then on the very other side of the street, I feel kind of like dumb saying this, but there was a big yellow building and it said Butter. And I was thinking, oh, that must be a pretty sweet breakfast place. No, that was also a cannabis shop right across the street from what I thought was a burger place. Cookies. All right, we'll take a few more on the feedback. Colonel's talking about if Bama gets blown out, we may know tomorrow. Yes, I think that I think we should know. I want him to lose just enough to get fired, but not really get blown out. If that makes sense to you. Smash is asking if Dillingham even really wants the job. He loves ASU and wishes he could make it a top-tier program. Well, look, if Dillingham wants to stay in Arizona State, there's a few coaches, not many, but you can dig up a few that have stayed and not gone for like a bigger school, bigger conference, or bigger payday. But there's not many. Mark Few at Gonzaga could have, of course, gone. If you go way back, so Duke is in Chapel Hill, which is, college basketball is like college football in most of the other country, but there was no Duke basketball. It was Coach K, and he went there and he built it. And then, but I hear they were in the ACC. It's been, he could have left to go to a lot of other places, and he could have gone to the pros. So maybe Coach K, but there's not many others. Somebody was making a case for, Dan Hurley turned down $20 million to go to the Lakers. He's making 50 with UConn, and the Lakers did offer him $70 million. And, so no, he wanted to stay with UConn, but he's not, that doesn't really feel like if you're making 50, 60, 70, hey, money's money and all that. But, Dan Hurley, he started out not like his brother Bobby, who actually played at Duke and went to Arizona State, which would be a nice Dillingham comparison. But no, Dan was at Rhode Island. And if Dan would have wanted to stay at Rhode Island and build them into some kind of powerhouse, what are they in the A10? I'm not sure. I think Rhode Island's in the A10. Lamar Odom went there. That's about all I know about Rhode Island. But no, he left to go to UConn because it was it's a basketball school, better conference, all that kind of stuff. So if Dillingham wants to stay at Arizona State, I say, hey, good luck, Kenny. And good luck at being the next Mark Few of college basketball. But those type of situations are few and far between. When you're Dillingham, your quarterback who took you to the playoffs last year has decided to hit the transfer portal. To me, I'm Dillingham. I'm saying, we just can't compete. We can't even keep the guys that we have success with. Now, maybe some Arizona State, they drum up and say, "Oh, we're gonna drop $1 billion into this." I don't know where they get that money from, but no, I would think a Dillingham, more than likely, we can base it on the history of college football, college basketball too, of coaches, and this guy. They almost all leave for better jobs and more money. Almost all of them. I keep thinking about rolling into that place that's giving away free ounces of the first 200. The Colonel wants to talk about drama. Seems to be some drama between Dilly and ASU. Reminds me of Rich Rod, who was upset about the basketball coach getting treated better than him at West Virginia. I think Dilly is better than 50-50. Yeah, I don't know about drama with basketball and football with Dillingham. I do know that he had some drama with his kicker last year. His kicker wasn't kicking well, and I don't know if he mock him or I'm just trying to remember how it went down. He's posted free, walk-ons or whatever at the college. But hey, I know that there have been other walk-ons that have come. You get to go over to the soccer team and say, "Hey, can anybody kick?" Mr. Martini is just laying the money out there. Mr. Martini's talking about $16 million for Dilly. Woo! it's not just the money that Dillingham gets. You also think about what is the Big Ten network and the Big Ten TV deals? They give it's not all the same. I don't think it's the same for Northwestern it is for Michigan, but Michigan's at the very top. I think they get like $90 million a year just for their TV. And what's Arizona State? Are they in the Big 12 now? Their media deal is dwarfed by the Big Tens. So you got, I don't know, 3 times the amount of money coming in from TV. And then you get to the NIL. And I don't know what Arizona State, I don't know what their donors, but I do know that they just lost Levitt. And I do know in the same time, Michigan just dropped the most money ever on Underwood. So you get more money for yourself, you get more money for the team, and you get a better salary cap in an uncapped sport right now. Everything would point for Dillingham, besides him being an Arizona State guy, and he might want to be the next Mark Few. That's it. Jeff is talking about Dan Lanning. Seems to be a serious possibility. I don't know why you would say that. Now, Dan Lanning has done a tremendous job at Oregon. Oregon has, we was just talking about the facilities, the money that they could pay if Dan Lanning wanted to make more money. Sometimes when you say he seems to be a serious possibility, maybe his agent was like, maybe we want to be the highest paid team like now. Let's put Dan Lanning in the mix in case things go, in case Alabama wins and Dillingham really is someone who wants to stay home. Let's put Lanning's name out there. We'll get to 16 million. Danny, we'll get you to 16 million. So I don't really think he's a serious possibility because one, Oregon they've got the money and they got the money for Lanning. They've got the money for the facilities. And also, yeah, they're in the Big Ten. So, and Lanning doesn't have any connection. In Lanning, that's one of the interesting ones because he reminds me a little bit of Dillingham, and that Dillingham, I'm not sure he could locate Michigan on the map, but, Lanning came from Georgia. And, he didn't, he was from Southern Missouri. Maybe coached at Memphis, but he had no connections to the Great Northwest, and he just bolted. He's going to go from the South to the Great Northwest to come back to Michigan. I'm not saying no to anything, and I'm not saying, you're sore or whoever's talking about that, but I don't think so. I haven't listened to that, or I haven't heard any of that, his name. Oh, Mr. Martini was talking about the NIL budget, not what the contract per year. Couple more. Ren says, we aren't waiting for DeBoer only to move on if he wins. We know he's interested, thus the delay. We're waiting on him, win or lose. Yeah, I'm going to disagree with that. I do not think that you are waiting on him if Alabama wins. So then are they playing next week, or then is it even longer? So you're just going to wait that out? You really think Alabama? What if he wins the next one? Let Dilly slip through your fingers, or any of these other guys? Is it DeBoer or bust? I don't think I don't think that. I mean, I don't know. That's just somebody that just made that up, but that's what they said they heard. Who knows where you heard that from? The Colonel says he listened to the U of M president's press conference yesterday, and I predict the university overcorrects on reining in athletes, so good luck on getting 5 stars through admissions. Yeah, you got to – I didn't hear what the interim president had to say, but those guys are all I was going to say they're pretty sharp, but then I'm thinking, look at Schlissel, what he was up to and everything else. The presidents understand money. Yeah, I know they, the academic part, but a place like Michigan, and money and athletics and academics. You know, they all have to work in harmony. So an interim president saying that, you know, I also saw him a quote about, the utmost integrity and, you know, honest. Those are great qualities to have as a coach, but what you really are talking about is you just don't want somebody, banging a subordinate. I mean, so I don't know. It's not quite. Almost anything would be better that way from what's going on. It's just DeBoer possibly doesn't matter what's happening. He's ejecting and coming to Michigan. I can't believe that. Mr. Martini, I like him calling him Bebor. That's more of a fun name than Debor. Bebor, if he wins, he'll get his extension before the next game. He'll be out. Yeah, I think he's out. Might as well take a shot, but if it is a 1/5 of a chance they get DeBoer, he has to both lose and agree to a deal. Take a shot. Like hanging out with him no matter what. I don't think so. I'll hang out for this weekend. I can't even. Why would DeBoer always say hates Tuscaloosa that much that he's gonna coach him in good faith. He's gonna win this game, then he's gonna continue going through the playoffs, and then whenever he's out, he's just gonna eject out of there. It doesn't. I don't see that. That doesn't make sense to me. I'm not saying that it can't happen. Crazier things have happened, but no. We are going to lose all of our recruits. I mean, I get that thought. That's it. Yeah, well, you know, presidents of the United States are able to get away with more than football coaches. Oh. Let's see what happens tonight. I want everybody to have a great weekend. A reminder that coming up on Sunday, the Michigan basketball team is back in action, and I will be on after the game right here on the Maize and Blue Review. If you like more Michigan coaching search talk, recruiting, regents, GM, AD, Ward's doing a good job, what went on behind the scenes with Sharon Moore, all those kind of things. That's what's going on over on the Maize and Blue Review. And it's a great time. Why not take the next step? Subscribe to the Maize and Blue Review. Go to on3.com. All those things listed, plus a community of sports fans, Michigan fans like yourself, debating the day's news. I guarantee you'll love it. It's on3.com, the Maize and Blue Review. We will see you over there. If not, we will talk with you on this very channel after the Michigan basketball game on Sunday. Till then, everybody have a great night watching the college football playoffs and Boomer Sooner. And then, Sunday we'll be here. Before we know it, we might have a Michigan football coach before the weekend is over. Have a great one, everyone, and thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Let's go. Oh, I didn't end things.